must be my lucky day.
A little far from home, aren't you? Garden snail.
I think we got a crier here.
Let's do this.
Ready? Set. Oh, I got this one. Yeah.
My name is Turbo.
Oh, I wish I could rename myself.
Okay, guys, it's my great pleasure to welcome the director of the film, David Soren.
The story that you just saw on screen was really inspired by my son, who, since before he could even talk, has been obsessed with his little race cars and zooming them around my living room. And my front yard, which had a snail problem.
And so begins another wonderful work week at the plant. Growing up, it seemed like everyone around me was moving at a snail's pace. Let's go, people! Pick it up!
How many of you are familiar with what storyboards look like? It's kind of like a comic book version of the movie, like a hand-drawn, and we figure out the acting, we figure out the ideas, and then we cut it together into something called an animatic, and we put temporary music to it, and some of the people at the studio do the voices before we get any of the real actors to do it, and we just test out our story.
What were your ambitions to become a director?
I knew from a young age that I could draw and that I liked telling stories, and I lived in Toronto, so California seemed like a very far away place, but I would see Disney programs on TV, and it just seemed like a dream for me to be able to go there and work in animation.
How many films have you made?
Directing, this is the third. The first feature, this is my first, feature-length animated movie, and then I've done a couple short films for the Madagascar franchise.
Were there any other films you noticed that you thought, oh, I wish I worked on that one?
Yeah, well, I mean, a studio like Dreamworks, there's constantly movies going on. There's a couple a year at this point, so you don't always get to work on all of them. Mm-hmm. I've been fortunate in that I've been able to touch, the Shrek franchise and Madagascar, and even spent a bit of time on How to Train Your Dragon. The one I never actually got to work on was the Kung Fu Panda movies, and I really like those.
Obviously you're directing this film, you've been a storyboard artist,
right.
You animate, you do voices as well.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you gain all of that experience, and how easy is it to move from one to the other?
Well, the benefit of starting as a storyboard artist at the studio is when you storyboard your parts of the movie, you're given a little chunk of the movie. Often when the storyboard artist pitches their work, they're having to create voices, if there's dialogue, if the character's saying something. And in some cases, the storyboard artists end up getting chosen by the directors to do the voice work in the movie. It's happened on a lot of the movies that I've worked on, and that was how I got my first kind of voiceover acting gig, which was on Shark Tale. How many of you have seen Shark Tale? So do you remember there's a shrimp in Shark Tale who had a bit of a hard luck life? So I had storyboarded, I was still storyboarding at that point, and I had storyboarded that scene and did the pitch, and I created this ridiculous kind of high-pitched voice character, and they liked it, and they ended up using it in the movie. The way I start drawing Turbo, I like to start with his eyes, my big eyes. And then what we ended up doing with his expressions, because obviously there's not that much to work with on a snail. There's no arms, there's no legs, there's no eyebrows. So we had to make people care about him and have him be able to act. So we created these lids on him, these kind of eyelids that also serve as eyebrows. So you probably noticed in the movie, you know, sometimes he gets sad or he's happy, and these things kind of come down. So, you know, it's this line here that, if you imagine like an eyebrow, but it's actually the eyelid. There are lots of little things we found that made him appealing. The more narrow the mouth made him more appealing. You know, but you're doing an excellent snail. That's terrific. Really great.
Will there be a sequel to this film?
They're making a TV show at this very moment. They're working on a TV show. What do you think? Should we make one?
Yeah.
What do you think could happen in the sequel? You could give David some ideas.
New snails join the crew.
Great idea.
Okay,
Maybe there's some new snails on your pads that would be good.
How did you get Snoop Dogg on your film?
You know, it's funny, when I was writing the script, often it would help me to think of actors, just their personalities, having them in mind, and I kept, from day one, I just thought about Snoop Dogg when I was writing that character. The beautiful thing about working at a studio like Dreamworks is actors know about it and often get very excited about the opportunity to be in these movies, and Snoop he said yes, and I couldn't believe it, and was a blast to work with.
I hope you enjoyed your little drawing masterclass. And obviously, we've got some great feedback from the film, David. We all really, really enjoyed it. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.
A round of applause.
Absolutely.